Hello, welcome to another week here on the College Football Show. I'm Nick Roby.
Barrett Black.
Thanks for joining us again, guys. Switch up locations a little bit, third week audible, but still be fun. So, exciting weekend of college football. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't start off with the LSU-Texas game. Barrett, what'd you think of that big top 10 showdown?
Man, I thought it was a great game. I think that's the type of game you want to see between the two Power 5 conference teams, especially ranked in the top 10. It lived up to the billing. It was exciting throughout. There wasn't a dull moment. Both quarterbacks played excellent. The defenses did well. The receiving core, especially LSU's receiving core, oh my goodness. Number one, man, he was tearing it up. I mean, they were super impressive.
Yeah, it was super impressive. I feel like watching the game, especially the second half, I feel like Texas would muster up all this momentum, and then LSU would come out, throw some first downs, get a big touchdown, and then the back and forth was really fun.
Toward the end of the first half, Joe Burrow caught on fire. I mean, it was looking really close. In the beginning, obviously, nobody could really get an edge up on the other. And then I text my buddies and I was like, man, I feel like LSU's about to blow this open because Joe Burrow was starting to get hot. And he did. If halftime wouldn't have happened, they might have put up another touchdown or two before.
Yeah. It was fun. I think I was still impressed though with Texas and the way they fought back and the way they
sure.
definitely
they never laid down.
They definitely finished the game. I mean, LSU ended up being the better team, but it's one of those games where you kind of wish neither team got a loss.
Yeah.
Because college football that's really big, especially when you're talking about postseason implications. But I think it's one of those losses where you can say okay, say Texas runs the table, they're 11-1,
they're still alive.
They're still alive, and even so, it's okay, you lost to LSU.
Yeah.
Who LSU might end up being a top 5 seed for the whole year.
This really makes me look forward to the Red River rivalry this year.
Say that 5
Yeah,
times.
exactly.
The tongue twister.
Yeah, but I'm excited about that game this year for sure.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. LSU, Alabama's gonna be fun.
Oh man, that's gonna be.
We've got some fun matchups, that's for sure. I'm trying to think what else with the game. You gotta love the DBU back and forth. Both teams have claimed to be DBU. I mean, LSU, you've kind of known about for a while.
Exactly, yeah.
Or at least some of those names come to mind more. Texas, I mean, I know there are some people, but you just don't think about it as much.
Yeah, I couldn't name a Texas DB in the NFL. So.
Yeah, but I think it was still fun. Now, maybe they both need to keep it at a rest since the game was 45-38.
And they each gave up over 400 yards of passing.
So maybe we'll keep it at rest. But those are always a funny preference of how they use it for recruiting.
Yeah.
And so, let's see. What were some impressive teams for you from the weekend? Man,
I think Ohio State was dominant in their performance. I expected Cincinnati to give a little bit of a fight. They had just beat UCLA, which was a big win for them. And, I knew that Ohio State would probably win that game, but I expected it to be, maybe 35-21, 42-21, 42-0. Ohio State was impressive.
Oh, wow, I didn't realize it's that bad.
They really shut them down. I think it was 42-0. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it wasn't so bad. But yeah, it was a blowout nonetheless. And Justin Fields tore it up with his feet and his arm again. And J.K. Dobbins, man, he's it was 42-0. Yeah,
it's 42-0. Okay.
J.K. Dobbins, man, he can run. He's bringing back Ezekiel Elliott to mind,
Yeah, that's fun. I definitely feel like they're remaking themselves, or just showing us why that they're the best team in the Big Ten.
Exactly.
And why that they're definitely on the cusp of another playoff appearance.
Yeah, for sure.
They are really impressive. I think another team that just comes to mind right off the bat as an ACC is UNC.
Yeah.
And granted, they've played some other Power 5 teams, South Carolina, they weren't expected to win. They won 2 games last year, went winless in the ACC. They're already matched their win total from last year. Already have an ACC win.
Yeah.
Over a tough Miami team.
What many people expect to win the Coastal.
Right.
I expected them to win the Coastal,
And that's still up in the air, but I think just it's showing you that there's a culture It feels like that Mac Brown's enlightened
Yeah.
in that school. And granted, they might go like 6-6 or something
Yeah.
like that. But even still, that feels like an upgrade, and it feels like they're already trending in the right direction.
sure.
Sam Howell already leading 2 fourth quarter comebacks as a true freshman.
Yeah, it makes you glad for Mac Brown. After the whole leaving Texas, going to announcing for a few years, to get back in that coaching saddle and to start off 2-0. That's pretty good.
That is pretty good. Yeah, I enjoyed that.
I also thought Southern Cal was pretty impressive.
I had that too.
After
Yeah.
their starter, JT Daniels goes down with the knee injury. He's out for the season. I was like, man, that's going to be a bummer on them. They'll probably have a pretty lackluster performance, but they beat the Dookie out of Stanford, and that freshman really showed that he can play.
Yeah, he really did. When I checked in on that game, it seemed very close. One of those games
Yeah.
that gets me like 24-17. And then USC just kind of took off.
Yeah.
And that'll be fun to see. I mean, the Pac-12 is really up for grabs.
It is.
And so there's not who's to say that their year's over just because Daniels has done it. If he can
Exactly.
keep the ship right. Oh, interesting side note. Did you see that Lynn Swan retired for them? He was the AD.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so he just resigned kind of suddenly today. So
Wow.
I don't know what that means, but if you're watching this,
I wonder if that has anything to do with that college scandal.
It
thing
could
with
be something to do with
admissions
that.
scandal,
Yeah, there's some weird stuff. So I know that they've talked about Clay Helton if he's going to stay or not.
Yeah.
But that's another good one. Another Pac-12 team that I was impressed with was Colorado.
Yeah.
Is that Nebraska was the big name everybody's talking about. It's a big rivalry game. They're at home. They're down, I think, 17-0.
17, yeah.
And they come back. Did you see the flea flicker?
No, I didn't.
They were on their own goal line. They do a flea flicker, another tongue twister.
Yeah.
Throw a 96-yard touchdown.
Oh my gosh!
And
I
then
heard that.
it
on the
put them
radio.
back into the game. It
Yeah,
was crazy.
that
And
is
then they went in
insane.
overtime.
Yeah.
To really, I think they're one of those teams that just flies under the radar. And
Yeah.
I think again, that was just it was fun to see them do well on that.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. Who's in the not so much or could use a bounce back week or
I mean,
even just a hug?
I think it goes without saying Michigan.
Yeah.
What happened, Michigan? I know playing a triple option team is tough. Alabama last year struggled against the Citadel. But, Michigan is a team that many people are saying this is the year they go to the Final Four. This is the year they finally upset Ohio State. They take the Big Ten. Man, that's not a way to start for sure. But I do know that every time in some, amazing season, there are these hardships. I think of Alabama in 2009 where we barely beat a Tennessee team that was not very good, and we had to block 2 field goals to win that game. And it was just kind of one of those things where you're like, okay, we had a gut check and we still have a chance now. So maybe that's what's going on for Michigan, but that was pretty unimpressive. Their offensive production,
was not very good.
Yeah.
Now, granted, Army took Oklahoma to overtime at home last year, and they went to the playoffs. So
Exactly.
So fact
That's what I kept thinking.
is Michigan's going to the playoff.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing for Michigan is if it's really Shea Patterson, is if they can finally get a quarterback to play just consistently, not even
Exactly.
have to be this crazy good, just something that they can consistently manage the game for them. That's a good one. Another one for me is Florida State. They're I think I'm just finding out even just in these 2 weeks that they are more of a mess than even that was led on at the beginning of when Jimbo left, when Jimbo Fisher left, and so now they won the game, so that's the positive.
Yes.
The minus was University of Louisiana Monroe. They won in overtime 45-44
On
on a missed
point.
extra point.
Yeah.
The guy shanked it.
Yeah.
And that's how you win. And so it's
Exactly.
granted you were 20 plus favorites against them.
deflating
So
win.
there's just a lot of stuff going on with them, and there definitely seems to be some culture things. Willie Taggart seems a little bit over his head right now, and there just seems to be some culture stuff that needs to be changed out with them. So they're a team that they just kind of need to figure out what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I think out in the Pac-12, Washington, I had expected Washington to probably take the Pac-12 North, maybe over Oregon this year. They were definitely going to be a contender, but then to go ahead and drop a game to Cal. I mean, I feel like that's just not a good way to start your conference play. You know?
Especially Cal's like a
Lower level
mid lower at
Yeah.
best. Yeah, that's a big one. And then another one for me is Miami.
Yeah.
Just to start off 0-2 after some big hopes for the year.
Yeah.
Their goals are all still out in front of them. The Coastal is very up for grabs, but they seem to play better. But they've kind of let some teams. They've let Florida and this UNC game get away.
Yeah.
Where you would hope to get at least one win out of these two.
Yeah.
So
I would also say Tennessee, man. What's going on? What's going on, Tennessee?
I think Tennessee just needs a hug right now.
They do. They do. Maybe they can make up for it this week. Right now, the season's looking like a train wreck. And I love Jeremy Pruitt. I mean, he's an Alabama guy. I want him to do well at Tennessee. And the SEC is always better when Tennessee is good. The East needs competition. And, man, Tennessee needs to turn the ship around.
They do. And I think, though, too, on a positive, like BYU is an underrated, well-coached team.
They are.
So there's definitely things out there for them, but there's a lot they need to continue to build on. So those are our impressive and not so much teams for this week. Who is like a Heisman candidate or just a player that a couple of players that you really like this week?
Yeah, so I mean the normals, Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa, but for me this week, stepping into the picture is Joe Burrow. The dude had almost 500 yards passing, really dominated that high-profile game. Looked great. I was super impressed coming from last year where he just really didn't live up to that transfer big name that he was supposed to be. This year he looks legit, and I'm thinking LSU's a surefire contender. They're a bona fide chance to go to the playoff for sure.
Yeah, they definitely launches them into contention, and you could argue, because every Heisman needs that Heisman moment. It definitely feels like a little bit of a pageant a little bit, but you have to have a couple of those moments where it stands out to the voters, okay, like this is their moment where they really stepped up. And him on that fourth quarter play, he's throwing across his body as he's getting hit.
Yeah.
3rd and 17, they get the touchdown to go ahead for good. That was a big play.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great one. One I think Justin Herbert stood out. I mean, he had 5 touchdowns, 300 yards.
Yeah.
So the yards is there, but the touchdowns, and I think just a good bounce back week for him after a tough Auburn loss, which really you couldn't even say that was really on his shoulders, but just for the team to bounce back like that and just showing that Oregon will put up numbers.
Yeah.
So he's another one I think is going to have a really, really good year.
For sure.
Yeah. So, all right, let's keep moving forward. Just some other notable mentions of guys I thought was just cool, how they really played well. Quarterback for Purdue, Elijah Sindler, I think that's how you say that. 509 yards, 5 touchdowns.
Wow.
Balled out. And then Darrington Evans from App State, 234 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns against UNC Charlotte. So it's cool to see some of those guys doing well. I always love a smaller school when they have a guy who can produce like that, and it's always fun to see that.
Yeah,
so hopefully someone like that can go to New York. What are some games that you're looking forward to this weekend or on the docket?
Well, I think the game I'm most looking forward to is Alabama, South Carolina. So I'm going to be heading down to Columbia on Saturday to check that game out. Meeting a buddy there. Last time we made this exact trip, 2010, did not turn out well for us. So because of those feelings, you kind of have the little bit of worry. Oh, could it happen again? Can we play at Williams-Brice Stadium? Do they have our number? South Carolina had an impressive bounce-back week, scored 70 points with their backup quarterback who seems pretty good.
Yeah.
It'll be our first SEC game of the year. And you just never know playing on the road like that. You want all your guys to come out safe. You want to win the game handily. So I'm looking forward to that game for sure.
I think it'll be good. It's a tough environment. Williams-Brice is especially on the road, and they're loud. And if the crowd stays in the game, it's a really tough place to play. That's a good one. I mean, obviously, just to talk about Clemson for a little bit. Going on, I mean, we had a big one this one against Texas A&M. I thought we played pretty well. I mean, there's some things you can keep working on, but I thought we played pretty well against a top-ranked team. And now we're going on the road to Syracuse. Syracuse was ranked, and now they're not because they gave up 63 points to Maryland.
Yeah.
So I think it's easy to lull into, okay, it's just Syracuse again.
Mm-hmm.
But they're always tough to play. We lost there 2 years ago.
Yep.
If it wasn't for a last-second drive last year,
Yeah.
there's a good chance we would have lost them again. So I think there's definitely a chip to want to prove and get that. For both teams, it feels like it's just trying to get a bad taste out of your mouth from the last time you played them. So I think that'll be a good big game. But and I'm not on that. I think it's gonna be fun. I like Iowa State. I think it's just I always love these rivalry games, and Iowa State now is game day, which is a fun feel to it.
Sure.
So I'm not really sure. I think this could be a year that Iowa State takes it, but I love that kind of a matchup, especially early in the year rivalry. That's fun.
Me too. I'm looking forward to Florida and Kentucky. Kentucky coming off their best season in a long time there for football. Obviously, they lost some great players. Their best defensive player. I think they lost their running back who essentially carried the team last year. So we'll see how they do, and then kind of see, is Florida legit? Are they going to be a contender for Georgia this year? Put up some points against Georgia. So we'll see how they do against Kentucky this week.
Yeah,
I think Florida owns a very long win streak in that series, unless they just lost it last year. I know at one point I think they won like 31 straight or something
crazy like that. I'm forgetting right now too. That's a good one. Another one I have down is Stanford, UCF.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you've got UCF, who's been the darling of the non-power fives, and they've had a little bit of quarterback switch back and forth. But to see how they do against Stanford, against two very different teams.
Now, is McKenzie Milton still there?
Milton's not there.
Okay,
no,
yeah.
Right now they've got Brandon Wimbush, who is the Notre Dame transfer.
That's right.
Is who I think Ian Book beat out last year, or he used to play for them. And then they've got like this lefty freshman who played really well, but he's the one who started last week. So I don't know who they're going to play, but they're playing Stanford. It's just a very two different styles of offense to see what they do. And this is a game for UCF. Okay. To continue to build on their momentum, to beat a team like a Stanford who's good, but I would say like UCF, it's at home, and as they're the ranked team, I think they should win this game.
Yeah, for sure. They need to win it.
Yeah. So there we go with that, and then just wanted to get a little time to quickly talk about rankings. So right now, as it's listed out, the top 10 would be Clemson 1, then Bama, Georgia, LSU, Oklahoma, Ohio State, Notre Dame at 7, Auburn, Florida, and Michigan around the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like that top 10 right now? As we've watched a couple games for teams, does that feel about right? Would you tweak it?
It feels as close to right as you can really get at this point, I guess. I would have tweaked it a little bit. I think that Ohio State and Oklahoma fans are probably pretty annoyed that they handled their business easily against, very inferior teams, and were still jumped by LSU, who, granted, has the best win of the year. But, I mean, how are you going to punish Oklahoma and Ohio State and not also punish like Alabama and Georgia, who also haven't played any marquee games yet this year? I feel like Alabama probably gets to maintain that second place ranking because of their pedigree over the past 5 years making the playoff. Fair enough. Probably a little bit of the same for Georgia. Clemson has a reasonable good win at number 1, so it makes sense where they're at. But Florida at number 9, not sure about that. Notre Dame at number 7. Should either of those teams be ranked ahead of Texas? Doubt it. Should Michigan be ranked ahead of Texas? I wouldn't even say so at the moment. I mean, Texas has a loss, but it's the loss to the number 3 team, 4 team.
Yeah, you can even argue that Texas should actually move up compared to some other teams. By the way, it was but then you start getting into the good loss versus the bad win.
Exactly.
So it's hard to judge. But at the beginning of the year, you're like, okay, should that team been that high to begin with? Florida's still kind of trying to earn their spot.
Exactly.
I might have put LSU at 3.
Yeah.
Just because they played the tough team. I feel like Clemson and Bama are the clear tops right now, but LSU is, with this win, it's still pretty good. But obviously it's still very early. I might have taken Notre Dame out of the top 10 just because they didn't play super well, and just seeing their team, I don't know if I would rank them that high yet. But I feel pretty good about it. Michigan is still, they dropped pretty far. Washington dropped all the way to 23
Yeah.
after that loss.
Yeah.
So it's still very early, but even still, it's looking very. When I was looking at this, it just makes me think of like, okay. I mean, usually the season kind of shakes itself out, but
Yeah.
we had to pick 4 teams. Even if you look at that top 6, in however order you want to look at it, Clemson, Bama, Georgia, LSU, Oklahoma, Ohio State.
Yeah.
2 of those teams you have to kick off.
Yeah, for
at
sure.
least.
I tell you what, I would honestly like to see this year. It probably will not happen, but just to test, like, what is the committee really all about? I would love to see Alabama or LSU, whichever one beats the other, only have the one loss, then go to play, so that undefeated team go to play an undefeated Georgia, and then beat Georgia, who would only have one loss, and then you have one undefeated and 2 one-loss SEC teams.
What do you do with
what do you do?
Yeah.
Who do you put in? I mean, that'd be really interesting.
It gets tricky really fast.
Yeah.
I think if you get and see it's those type of situations, what's going to happen eventually is it's going to be some team that's egregiously left off of the playoff, and then they eventually, by reaction, then will make the 8 teams or 6 expand it in some way because that's how we tend to.
Yeah, and maybe
operate.
that's what we need is that cluster this year where you've got 3 SEC teams that are extremely viable options, and maybe they put 2 of them in to the top 4. I mean, how crazy would it be to put 3 of them into the top 4? I would love to see a wrench thrown.
Now you're talking crazy. You don't get 3 SEC teams, Barrett.
And it's not that I want 3 SEC teams. I want some wrench to be thrown in to see how the committee reacts to that, and to see if they can come up with the right decision.
Who are the? It's really they've made it clear it's who the best 4 teams are.
Yeah.
And it's for that committee that year who they think the best 4 teams are.
Exactly.
So that's where it gets tricky, but it's going to be interesting, and some of it will kind of play itself out.
Yeah.
But I'm excited.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. So, well, thanks guys for listening. A really fun-packed weekend. Still even thinking about we got NFL. That's a whole even separate
Monday Night Football going on.
Monday Night Football right now. Yeah. So, but fun weekend, a slate of games. So thanks for tuning in. Remember to subscribe, like the video, share with friends. Catch us on backyardcatch.com. We're on all social media outlets. So, but thank you so much, Barrett.
Yeah.
Really
Good to
enjoyed
be
it.
here.
Yeah. So, and thanks for listening. But for now, we're signing off. See you next time.
See ya.